And welcome to the Be Mobile Show. It is Alicia and Jack, and today we are talking about wrist pain.
Yes.
So if you have wrist pain with exercise and you find certain exercises difficult, let us know in the comments, and today we're going to go over some tips that are hopefully going to be helpful for you.
Yeah, 100%. We'd love to hear your tips as well, what you've done to modify your exercise to continue to get fit and strong, because it sucks when you have a particular type of pain. And you know, your wrists are involved in pretty much every movement we do with strength training, so we want to make it tolerable. Now, Alicia, just quickly, because you know, we're going to talk about some little modifications and inventions that you can use when it comes to the tools that we use for strength training, like, you know, little grips for your dumbbells. And I was thinking about inventions the other day, and I was out in the garden, and I was just thinking, the invention of the shovel was groundbreaking, right?
Yeah.
I think we can all agree on that. But it was the invention of the broom, I should say, which truly swept the nation. Would you agree? What's funny?
Oh dear.
Oh.
The sweeping, groundbreaking.
Oh God, yes, right.
Okay.
Hey, I just want a quick shout out to Val, who sent us in that joke. I completely stuffed it up there by messing up saying broom. Oh boy, all right,
Anyway,
let's get into it.
Let's get into it. So, wrist pain. Why is it painful? Sometimes people find with exercises like push-ups or plank, holding dumbbells, having to get into wrist extension can be painful, and it causes them pain there at the wrist joint.
Yeah.
So.
And I was also going to say, we might have, it's not as common, but you might also be getting some wrist pain on the other side, and I think some of these
That's true.
What would you say, strategies may help you as well.
Yeah, it can be applied to that too. And some people might have pain more towards the bottom of the thumb joint, and these strategies can be applied for all of these types of pains and conditions. So,
and Alicia, I'll just jump in and say as a caveat, or just disclaimer, we're not necessarily talking about like finger arthritis today either. It's more just the wrist. Is that correct?
Yeah, more focusing on the wrist.
Great.
Wrist, I should say.
Okay.
Yeah, and because the thing is, it's important that you strength train your upper body. You don't want to be deprived of the benefits of strength training, because you need to be able to lift, carry things, put things overhead. So you want to be able to be strong for those movements in your everyday life.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. All right, well, so today's going to be very practical. We're going to get cameraman Brody behind the scenes there to be zooming in on us and to show you quite close up what kind of variations, modifications and tricks we might use to be able to do things like push-ups, planks, dumbbell exercises when we have wrist pain. So let's kind of start with the body weight push-ups and plank exercises.
Yeah, let's start with that. So,
okay,
just going to clear some space.
Got this. All right, let's move it out there. And I'm just going to keep my laptop up there, Alicia, so we can see what we're doing at all times. So, folks, yes, we are going to be showing you some different variations that you can use when doing some push-ups or planks. Alicia, do you want to start doing these? Or
yeah,
okay.
I'll start.
I'm going to move out there.
So I thought you were going to sit down on top of me.
No, that's all right.
Then. Okay, so for the push-up or the plank, I'm going to start with some towels. So if I fold a towel like that, and I get into the push-up position, so I'm doing a knee push-up here. If I put the heel of my hand on the edge of the towel, that means that I'm not in as much wrist extension as if I took the towel away and I was just on the ground like that. So some people will find putting a little bit of elevation under the heel of their hand is going to be more comfortable when they do a push-up like that. Now, another option with the towels is to simply grip onto the towel, one in each hand, and place them on the ground like that, or whatever surface you're doing your push-up or plank on, and doing the push-up in this manner, like that.
Great.
So, that is towels.
Cool.
Second up, we're going to use some dumbbells, if you have them. Now, a couple of pointers if you're going to use dumbbells. We want to use hexagonal dumbbells, as you can see as opposed to circular dumbbells. And that just is because we don't want the dumbbell to roll along on the ground when you're doing a push-up. And the other thing is you want the dumbbell to be big enough that you can fit your hand in and your knuckles are not going to be dragging or trapped or painful on the ground because you're pushing against them. So if you have dumbbells like this, you're going to put the dumbbells on the surface that you're using and then pushing up like that. And again, the same thing applies to a plank. Third option is the push-up bars. Now, these are similar to the dumbbells, something that you can look up online and buy, and used in exactly the same manner, pushing up or doing a plank like that. So there are a few options, and now Jack, you've got a couple more options.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the push-up.
Okay, Brody, I've got to make sure I can be seen here. So hopefully some of those variations were handy for you. You perhaps even do some of those variations in your own routines, okay? What I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull this bench over. I'm just going to show you a couple of things here. So whenever you're doing a push-up, if you ever can get into an incline position, that is generally going to put your wrists into less extension, okay? So whenever we're on the floor, we're in a lot of extension. However, if we can, for example, do a knee push-up whilst we're on a bench, couch, a chair, anything like that, you can see now that my wrist is not going into extension as much as if I was on the ground, okay, which is pretty much at a 90-degree angle, okay? So doing something at an incline is a good way to do it. And here's a tip. Let's just say you're going really well with your push-ups and you're doing floor push-ups, but you know, the dumbbells aren't quite working for you and you'd like to do an incline, but the incline's too easy. You could actually put a backpack on with some weight and do the push-up in that way, okay? This is the same for if you were up on a kitchen bench. The incline's gonna be, well, it's gonna work as the same principle, I should say. Now, one other thing you might like to try, this doesn't necessarily work for everyone and it depends how sore you want your knuckles to be after, but this is certainly something that I have done before, is a knuckle push-up, okay, or a fist push-up. So instead of extending my wrist there, I can clench my fist and I can do a knuckle push-up just like that, okay? So that's another option. Now, Alicia, did you talk about hand angles?
I did not, but that's a good point.
Yeah, I'll just briefly touch on that. So people think of a standard push-up just like this, okay, with my hands facing forward. Actually, I'll just get right onto the camera here, Brody. Hopefully that's not showing too much of my bald spots on my head. Straight forward like this, right? What you might like to try is turning your wrists pretty much out to the side. Now that will change where you feel the push-up working, okay? Or it might just be at 45, or you know, you might be someone who actually turns your wrists a bit more inwards, or once again, palms outwards. Now, I personally don't like that version. I prefer a more standard push-up, but just play around with your angles and see what you can do. And I think that's pretty extensive, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So I think there's a whole host of strategies we've just shown, and it's a matter of experimenting with those and seeing what works for you, because different things are going to work for different people.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Brody, we should just make sure that the clarity of the picture's coming through. All right, it's just looking a little bit hazy there. So just want to check the internet connection there, my friend.
We're looking okay, or?
Yep. Just let us know online, everybody, if the image is all right. That could just be my computer. Okay. And Alicia, we've got some comments here. Mm-hmm. Barbara says, interested in this. I've always had weak wrists and am finding they're getting stronger with exercises though, which is great to hear. So that's a good example of actually putting your wrists under stress and them getting better.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Barbara. And that is something that we haven't mentioned, but you have, is that you can actually build up the tolerance of your wrists to cope with load with these exercises.
Great. And Lisa, and we'll be getting into some dumbbell variations soon. And Lisa also talks about some thumb joint pain which she's having, which comes down into the wrist, and that's actually really common, we find. But once again, I think a lot of these variations might be able to help.
Yeah, you might find some of the strategies we're about to show for dumbbell exercises helpful for that pain at the base of the thumb as well.
Yep, and Leslie is saying that she uses hand weights like push-up handles for planks and push-ups. Yeah, and I actually personally use push-up handles, like the little parallettes you showed for my push-ups. It also allows me to get a bit deeper into my push-up,
makes
which
the
gives
push-up
me
harder
benefit.
if you use them in that fashion. Yes.
Great. Excellent. And then this one here from Kathy, who says, sometimes I do squats with the weights balanced on my shoulders. My hands prevent them falling off, but my hands and wrists aren't taking the weight. There's a really good example when you have heavier weight of putting it onto a stronger bit, which is your shoulder. For example. Like if you see the guys who squat, 300 kilos in the Olympics, when they're doing front squats, it's a lot more rested back onto their shoulders for sure, because it's a strong position.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, why don't we look at some dumbbell exercises now? Because, or I should say variations in terms of holding a dumbbell, because as you know, we do all sorts of dumbbell exercises, curls, front raises, overhead press. And some people find that can be a little bit painful on their wrists. So I think one of the first things to try in that regard is just looking at your wrist position and seeing if having a more neutral position helps. So what I mean by that is not going into a lot of wrist extension and coming back.
I'll get this zoomed in on you, Alicia, so you can...
Okay. So I'll start more new. You know what? I might get a slightly smaller dumbbell so it's easier to see. Okay, so like this, as opposed to being in wrist extension like that, or forward like that. It's not that being in these positions is necessarily bad or harmful, but you just might find it more comfortable if your knuckles are directly over your wrist like that. And now, the other thing to be mindful of is the wrist being in more of a neutral position in this regard, so not deviating towards your thumb side or towards the side of your little finger. So something worth checking and seeing if that helps with your dumbbell exercises. Now, Jack, you have some other suggestions in terms of the dumbbells?
Yes, absolutely. And sorry if we're a little bit off center here. We're just making sure the zoom's getting in there. Cool. Yeah. So these things are called fat grips. I got them probably when I was 18 for the gym, because they're actually pretty cool when you do pulling exercises for your grip strength, because it's a wider grip. But what you can actually do with things like this, but you can just make your own one at home, for example, by wrapping a towel around and taping up your handle, is with this here, okay? We can just put it around the handle, as you can see like that, and it's now made a fatter handle, as you can see, okay? So rather than a really small grip, this may be more beneficial for your wrist if you do have wrist pain, okay? And it just allows me to have a thicker grip. Now, not necessarily. Some people actually might find this worse off for their wrist. But what we're trying to do here is modify it, because not everyone is going to be the same. Everyone's going to be individual circumstances. So that may be an option for you. I personally like this. And what it allows you to do, sometimes, Lisa was talking before about having some thumb pain. I feel sometimes that if you grip your thumb around like this and do what we call a monkey grip in jiu-jitsu, and you can rest the weight there so that my thumb isn't wrapping around, okay? As you can see, my thumb is underneath. That's a nice, strong, sturdy position, okay? And I can do my weights from there. So that's how I do all my bench presses. It's a very comfortable, strong position. People think the weight's gonna slip forward out of their hands, but it shouldn't,
It's
okay?
safe, that's right.
It should sit nice and evenly over that thumb and wrist. So there's another go. And you could wrap a towel around, as I said.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say, if you don't have dumbbell grips and you just wanna see if having that wider handle is going to be beneficial for you, you can get a towel, perhaps a tea towel, wrap it around your dumbbells and see if that's helpful, and whether perhaps purchasing a pair of those is going to be the way to go.
Beauty.
Yeah.
Okay, should we move on?
Let's move on.
Yep, and Do you want to come in, Brody?
We're
We're both going
come
to come in.
So we're a bit more...
People want to see us up
centred.
close
Okay.
today.
The internet was struggling a bit, but it appears to be better.
Okay, so
we're-
it appears that the internet's better, folks. Sorry if there was a Brody. Is that all fixed now?
Yeah, I think so. It was a bit blurry.
Okay. Unfortunately, the internet is something B-Mobile doesn't control, so we do apologise. Have a go at this. So Kathy says, I cut up stubby holders to wrap around dumbbells, kept in place with tape. And I hope for each of
Great.
the weights from 1 to 25 kilos, you have a nice little stubby holder for each.
I like that. That's a lot of ingenuity there.
Oh, here we
Kathy.
go. Sarah says, could you use part of a pool noodle?
Margaret said that too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
So did-
that's
so
a
did
great
Margaret.
solution.
Yeah.
Yeah. And nice and soft on the hands as well.
Yeah, and Kathy says, dumbbells for me, though it rubs on a thumb contraction that developed as my wrist fracture healed. Yeah, so, you're going to have your challenges, but as long as you at least try the variations.
That's right.
Alicia, do you want to go through wrist wraps?
Yeah, so our final strategy is wrist wraps. So we're going to bring up an image of those in case you haven't seen them before. So these provide support to the wrist and they also limit movement, which can give you a sense of stability that you can use with any exercise really, can't you, Jack?
Yeah, like especially Ollie personally uses
uses
these
them, yeah.
and he advocates them. I have tried his before and I really enjoyed them. So if you are doing, probably not as good for things like push-ups if you still do need a bit of movement, but things like heavy overhead presses where you're getting a lot of pain, if you have these wrist wraps which wrap nice and tightly around your thumb and your wrist, especially for those people that have some thumb pain, if you really jam it up there and get it nice and tight on the wrist, it can help with some of those overhead movements.
What did it feel like to you wearing them?
It kind of like you would, like if you had a knee brace that was really tightly wrapped and it just felt like I couldn't move much, which kept it really stable. And especially when I was doing some heavy overhead barbell presses, I found that really helped myself. I didn't buy a pair, but I certainly would invest if I had wrist pain.
Yeah.
Comment from Kathy, I think.
Yep. Let me bring up this comment. Kathy says, sometimes I do squats with weights balanced on my shoulders. Yes, we actually talked about that before, Brady, but we should actually demonstrate that quickly.
There's one, got
Yeah.
both? Okay.
So it's a good example. Kathy was talking about doing squats. So some people, when they're doing squats, might hold the weights here or here, okay? And that might put a little bit too much stress on the wrists as they're going down. So what you can do is rest them on the shoulders, so that pretty much half the weight is taken in your shoulders, which is a lot stronger because it's the kind of midline of your body, the center of your body.
Yeah. Okay, so we hope that those strategies are helpful. Give them a try and let us know how you go. And if you have any more of your own strategies like the stubby holders or pool noodle suggestions, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. And because I was just looking through our membership Facebook group, and a couple of people had commented. Catherine had said, looking forward to this. Just started noticing wrist pain when I do planks, push-ups, and tricep dips, where your hands are behind you. I know there are workarounds. Certainly, I hope, Catherine, that some of these workarounds have helped you, and you can test them.
And that's something we didn't demonstrate. And Joan also mentions the dips. You can do the dips with a towel. In the same way, you can do them holding the dumbbells and using that. I often use them in class, as you probably have people that have trouble doing dips, and they've found them tolerable using dumbbells.
Yeah. So I think to sum up, it's all about just finding little modifications that you can do here or there for whatever exercise is going to be painful. And we tell this to our members and our studio clients up here all the time. Just keep exercising, never stop, just find workarounds. There's never really an excuse to say, well, I've got this, so I've got wrist pain, so I can't do any upper body exercise. We will find you a workaround, I guarantee you. Unless you've got a wrist fracture for now, but generally, we will find you a workaround. So don't give yourself those excuses, just give yourself modifications so you can continue.
Yeah, because you want to experience the benefits of feeling stronger and being able to do more things in your everyday life.
For sure.
Yeah.
Great. Joan said she'll try dips with dumbbells.
Good, Joan. Give them a try and let us know how you go.
Okay, excellent. Well, hope you enjoyed that segment. I think that was, Alicia, you wrote this up. That was a really interesting, insightful segment, and I think it probably would have given people a lot to think about.
Yeah, I hope
Cool.
so.
A lot of practical tips. Brody, let's bring up, I just want to, speaking of strength training, this was one of our shares from our members who was completely fine with us putting this up on the show, Sue. It's a beautiful photo
Isn't it?
of Japan, the forests of Japan, but, classic rugged steps there in Japan. Although pretty beautiful stone masonry, really, probably thousands of years old. This is her strength training coming into use, walking up the thousands of stairs.
Thousands and thousands. And also she said the cardio circuits as well.
Yes.
That combination of strength and cardio. It's great to see, like when you go on a holiday like that and you feel that you can cope with all those stairs as a result of the training that you've put in.
Yeah, I agree. That's a really nice photo. Beautiful. Now, folks, remember, if you have any questions, now is the time to ask them. Please be quick, because we don't want to miss them, because we will be getting on to our Q&A now. Just before we answer any of the questions, just remember, our comments are going to be general. This is not health advice, so if you're very worried about something, well, then make sure you go see your local physio or doctor, as, once again, these are general recommendations.
Indeed. So
Yeah.
to kick it off, Jack, you had a bit of correspondence with one of our members, Sarah Mason, and so she has sprained one of her ankle ligaments.
Yeah, absolutely. She went out for a walk the other day. She was telling me, and she told the membership Facebook group, who gave her a lot of support, because I know she's an avid exerciser, and she rolled her ankle outwards, and I'll try to do a little demo of this. So if she's walking, she rolled it like that. Okay, hopefully that was clear. And on the outside of, or do you want to explain where the ATFL is?
Yes. So, as Jack described, the ankle has rolled that way, and those ligaments are here. So those ligaments have been sprained, which can be very painful and result in swelling, and Sarah found out she had a grade 2 sprain.
Yeah, and the grades don't mean a whole lot.
No. What matters more is, I think, being guided by your symptoms.
Yeah, I agree. So she's had several x-rays. There's no fracture, which is a good sign. And she's doing the classic RICE, so, ice, compression, some anti-inflammatories and elevation, which is great. And you'll review that with your doctor. But I think this is just a good example of some advice we would usually give, general recommendations to continue strength training regardless. And I already spoken to Sarah, and I know she will. And she'll continue to exercise in whatever way possible. Even if you're on crutches, you can still do your upper body movements in the workouts. If you can stand there and put some weight through your ankle, you could do sit to stands and deadlifts and things like that. Or you could just give some of those leg exercises a rest for a week and just continue on with the upper body, would you say?
Yeah, I think like you say, Jack, it depends on the severity, and for each individual it's doing what's tolerable.
Yeah.
So, hit your upper body exercises, and if it is tolerable, to weight bear, you can do some, if you like squats or deadlifts or whatever, or even, sitting on a chair and just taking your ankle through whatever range of motion you can while you're not in weight bearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hitting the pool, when I've had foot injuries in the past, I know, sorry, you live down in Victoria, maybe the outdoor pools are a bit cold at the moment, but yeah, for example, doing pool work is a great way to get some cardiovascular exercise in there as well.
Yeah, and it's also going to aid the recovery of the sprain, and help that muscle pump effect of helping to disperse some of that inflammation and swelling, and it also is going to mean that you're feeling good doing what you can.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Lastly, just on the healing time, prognosis of ankle sprains, once again, it's going to be guided by your symptoms. There's not like a set period where 6 weeks from now you're going to be back to completely normal, okay? I remember I quite badly sprained my ankle, what I thought was quite bad, on a hike where I rolled with 30 kilos of pack and rolled my ankle in a lot of vines, and I limped out of it for about 5 kilometers, got home, I thought I'd broken it, got scans, nuts, all good. I was back at jiu-jitsu the next week with it taped, kind of running around, so I just had bit more of a, I wouldn't say miraculous recovery, but I thought it was a lot worse than it was, and it ended up healing quite quickly. So
you're saying don't put limitations
that's right.
on, don't think it's going to take 2 to 3 months when it might take 2 to 3 weeks or
100%.
2 to 3 days.
I think as you said,
hard to
Alicia,
know.
guide by symptoms.
Yeah, and if you keep doing what you can based on your symptoms, you will get better. And the natural process of recovery, it will heal.
Great.
Yeah.
Sweet. And Lynn here talking about the education says, that was awesome as I suffer with wrist base of thumb pain. I do use dumbbells, but liked the other suggestions. No worries, Lynn. Glad that helped. And Vicky has a question here. And Vicky says, if I was to buy dumbbells, not having used them yet, which weight would be a good one to start with? I don't want to have to buy a whole lot of different ones. Is there one that will be a good general weight? No. There is not one weight that you should start with or is appropriate. Well, no, I will correct myself. The one weight you should start with is the one that is challenging, but one that is manageable. Something like, Alicia, have you got any guidelines regarding how many repetitions we would leave in the tank, like the classic 3?
Well, we actually did a show on this
Yep.
maybe a month or so ago about how much weight should I lift, and we base it on intensity. We want an 8 out of 10 effort, and that might be, for any given exercise. Just say we're doing an overhead press, that might be 10. If we're doing 10 reps, that might be 2 kilos for one person. It might be 6 kilos for another.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know. It would be good if you could do a little test. What I would do is, if you've got some 2-litre milk bottles at home, fill them up with water. That's 2 kilos. And then if you do some exercises, so you can experiment, do some overhead press, do some bicep curls, do some front raises, because you're going to, with an exercise like a front raise, you're going to use a lesser weight than you would for an overhead press. Get a sense of, okay, is 2 kilos a challenging weight for this exercise or not? Then that gives you a gauge of, if I'm going to go and buy some dumbbells, would I be better off with 2 or maybe 3 or 4 because I need a bit more of a challenge?
Yeah, and I'll jump in here as well and just say, remember, adjustable weights are usually the way to go if you're doing an in-home. If you're doing weights at home, because you don't want to have to buy a million different weights. We've got fixed weights here because we've got a gym, okay? But buy adjustable dumbbells so that you can use anywhere from like 2 up to 20, 25 kilos. And we recommend the same for adjustable kettlebells, obviously adjustable barbells, so on and so forth. So the adjustable nature is important.
Yeah.
That has a good suggestion of this guy.
So Heather's suggested 3 to 5 kilos.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah, I agree. Not a bad idea if you would have a range. But once again, if you can get adjustable, get adjustable. And I'm just going to post in the comments there the link to our YouTube live that Alicia was talking about how much weight you should be lifting.
Yeah,
so I hope
think
that's useful.
A helpful guide, because we often are asked that question, how much weight should I lift? And it's really less about the weight than it is about your effort level.
That's right.
Yeah.
Brody, do you mind grabbing the milk bottles from the cabinet? I just want to, because Kathy has said here regarding the wrist, she said cling wrap under the milk bottle lid helps with leaking, but milk bottles also provide a twisting force on the wrist. Just as a little tip, because in our workouts we say, actually that's right.
You can also glue the milk bottles.
Yep.
So you can do what, sorry?
Glue the milk bottle lids on.
Glue the milk bottle lids on. There you go. There's a tip.
And they won't leak.
So, in some of the workouts we say you can hold on to the handle and you might be doing like that. Now, often the handles are small. What I recommend doing for all of your exercise where you can use the milk bottles, deadlifts, squats, overhead presses, even front raises, okay, is actually put a dowel through there. And that means you can change the thickness if you do have wrist issues by wrapping towels around. It also means you can get a really good grip on there, Kathy. So I highly recommend using a dowel, like a broomstick, chopped up. And the other good thing is, depends how long it is, you could actually put 2 or 3 of these milk bottles on there. And if you load it up with sand, that's kind of 2 to 4 kilos each. So you could have like, what's that, 2, 8, you could have like, 10 to 14 kilos with some milk bottles on there.
Bunnings broomstick handles are like $8.
Yep, Bunnings broomstick handle, $8. Brody's just confirmed that. He's the man when it comes to shopping with that stuff. There you go. And Lisa here says, I have a 20 kilo dumbbell kit, I'm guessing. The bar itself is 2 kilos, then you add plates up to 10 kilos each. There you go.
Great. Yeah.
And those things aren't that expensive.
No, they're not. Like,
It's like $50 in Kmart or something.
Yeah.
It's worth it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. God, that is a lot of talking. We've done a lot there. Should we finish up there? We seem to have answered most of the questions.
That's all the comments.
And Vicky thanks us for her answer. That's no worries. Okay, should we finish up?
Yeah, I really like this finisher. It's a great one. It's a very inspiring one that Kathy posted.
Yeah. Shall I read the...
Read what Kathy wrote.
Yeah, so she just says at the bottom, this is not a pic of me, by the way. So this is obviously someone else. But so basically, Kathy has decided to jump into the deep end, so to speak, because she started paddleboarding. So she bought kind of a mid-range paddleboard, despite having hand and ankle or foot osteoarthritis. So after having her first session, she says, my improved balance kept me upright all the way to the end. When you do a mandatory fall in to practice getting back up on the board when you can't stand in the water. So I was pleased with that, and the practice I've done getting up from lying was mighty useful. No doubt upper body strength came in handy too, but I was concentrating so hard, unfamiliar movements I didn't notice. Anyhow, I had so much fun. I didn't hurt, though I'm guessing I will tomorrow, and I'm off to buy the stand-up paddleboard this week. Pretty happy, but I'll be buying an electric pump because I'm still not that keen to pump it out by hand. This is not a pic of me, by the way. Now, I just loved this. Kathy has, hand and foot osteoarthritis, and people would say, well, I should protect myself. I shouldn't be grabbing things and spending too long standing up. But no, she did a 75-minute lesson and she loved it. She might be a bit sore the day after, but she's going on.
Yeah, and that soreness will subside, and Kathy, as you get more used to doing the stand-up paddleboarding, your muscles will adapt. And I just love it. It's just, you're out there, this sense of freedom and liberation, being out on the water and adventuring. It's such a different perspective to being on land.
Yeah.
What an adventure. I think that's amazing, Kathy.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
Keep smashing. All right, Alicia, that's it for today, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whew. Okay, that was a big one, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. It's great to see y'all. Thanks so much for commenting. And of course, if you do have any questions, make sure you bring them to next week's live Q&A section of the show. Any finishing remarks?
Indeed, no, we hope you enjoyed it. If there's any other topics you'd like us to cover for a live show, let us know. And otherwise, enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you soon.